Hi folks, this is Frankie Schoenfeld from Frankie Outdoors. Going to give you a few wintertime fishing tips. Hopefully this will aid you in your fishing in the wintertime. First we're going to start off with your guides for your fly rod right here. What I do, I just started doing this winter. Last winter was my first year of fly fishing. And I wanted to get the total feel of it, so I fished a lot in the wintertime. But so far here in central Pennsylvania this year in 2017, the winter's been pretty cold. We're actually having a lot of February temperatures here in December. I want to go over a couple quick little points that I came up with. I take like a PAM product. This is from Walmart. It's great value. You pick the flavor you want. I'm not very choosy about it. This is butter flavored that I actually have in the house. I spray it in my guides and then I wipe it out a little bit. I did this before a fishing trip here 2 days ago, and it aided with it. It didn't completely knock all the ice out or keep all the ice from forming on my guides, but it did ease the pain because I fished on the 21st, which was the first day of winter, and I do have video clips of that, just pictures of my fishing on the 21st and the 26th. 21st I really struggled, and the week prior to that I really struggled with keeping ice out of my eyelets. Now I sprayed that in my eyelets and it seemed to be better. You're going to have ice in your guides still. Another thing, a factor is your float line will freeze inside your reel. Your reel will freeze up. So what I've been doing is if I'm fishing a small stream, I pull out about 5 to 8 yards of float line and just keep it in my guide hand or my brake hand. Just keep it balled up, like wrapped up. If I'm fishing a bigger stream like the Little Juniata or Penns Creek or something like that, I'd obviously strip out more line. Because once your reel's froze up, it's kind of hard to unthaw it without submerging it back into the water and honking on the reel a little bit, get the ice to break free. I do that as more of a precautionary thing, because if you do get fortunate enough to hook a fish that fights really well and it's at the bigger end of fish that you would catch, you do need some line to battle the fish. So the better you are at battling fish, the more chances you get the fish into the net. And another thing, when you net these fish, try to keep them in the net because of these little things. Everybody knows you have to keep your hands wet while you're handling the fish. So try to minimize the contact you make with the fish and the cold water. Because once these get cold, fishing trips are cut very short. So try to keep the fish in the net. If you do catch a nice fish that you do want to take pictures of, keep it in the net the whole time till you get your gloves or you do get your hands wet. Set your timers on your phones or your cameras for shorter periods of time, and you're going to have to make quick business of holding your fish up and getting a picture. It's just common sense. Once these get cold, it's hard to regain the heat back in them. Another little product that I use is these hand warmers. Just break them open, put them strategically on you so you can access them really quick. That way you can keep your hands warm. Another little thing I have here is a bodysuit, top, bottom. Doesn't have to be anything really fancy. If you can afford Under Armour or Polar Under Armour, buy the best that you can. Layer your socks too. It was probably a good idea if you got your wading boots a little bigger. Actually, sometimes in the really extreme cold, I put a set of neoprene waders underneath. which I'm probably going to start doing because it's been extremely cold here in central Pennsylvania. We've had wind chill factors between 5 above and maybe 5-10 below, even through the day. So it's been quite trying, to say the least. Another gear thing that you can do is take the polarized sunglasses, because you're going to have a lot of ice glare, you're going to have a lot of snow glare. The water is going to be crystal clear. These might aid you in seeing fish before you walk up on them and spook them. This time of year, the fish are usually pulled up in these poles. So if you can catch one or two at the head of that, you're sort of ahead of the game. Unless you know the stream extremely well, you can sneak in behind them. But if you're fishing like a downstream, which a lot of people do in the wintertime, the polarized glasses will aid you in wading, walking, visibility in the water, because usually it's low and clear conditions. When you do find these pulled up trout, only spend a short period of time figuring out if they're going to eat or what they're going to eat, because wasting your valuable time on inactive fish or inactive feeding right now is a big no-no, because of obviously because of the extreme cold conditions. Yeah, forceps. These are kind of gaudy and biggy, but I keep these in my front pouch. A lot of people have little tags and little clip-ons to hang them off. I keep them in my pouch, and utilize these as much as you can, because it minimizes the contact of these little guys in the water. These can save a fishing trip in the wintertime too. I'm going to try to go over like your gear that you wear too. You're going to have icing on your waders, so it's just a common fact, and if you get ice buildup, it's going to make you colder quicker. If you get cold while you're in the stream, by all means get out of the stream and walk around a little bit. I try to maximize the distances that I walk, so it keeps my circulation going and it keeps me a little bit warmer. And also too, don't get up at the crack of crickets. It's alright to get up with your buddies at 5:30, 6 o'clock, but go have breakfast. Strategize about the section of stream you're going to fish. Usually from about 10 to 4 o'clock are the best, and usually it's between 11 and 2 when you have extremely cold weather, because the sun's at its apex for the day. It's not going to get any warmer than it is between 11 o'clock and 2 o'clock. Just the design of the sun in the wintertime. So they're usually your most active parts of the day. Unless you had a considerable warm-up that has spiked the water temperatures up, and then it might carry into 3 or 4 o'clock. But usually, like I said, even if you want to sleep into 8, meet your buddies at 8:30, go have a breakfast to hold you over, but fish those noon hours. They're the most productive usually. Last winter I caught some really nice fish, and I have a very, very good memory of locations, times, conditions that I fished in, and most all my good fish last year in the winter were between 11 and 2 o'clock. And I occasionally picked up some decent fish between 10 and 11, but all my better fish were from 11 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's another little helpful hint. Be really careful when wading. Usually up to the fall, there's a mid-belly wading mark that you shouldn't go over. And it goes down the faster the flow is. You have more restriction in what water you should be wading in the typical time of the year. It's really important in the wintertime to cut that, minimize that in half. A lot of these places have ice around the edge, so you can't really wade in some spots too. A lot of times you might have to cast from the bank, which is a whole nother dilemma. Winter fishing is very rewarding if you can commit yourself and have the dedication to do it, because it is cold. I don't care who you are, you will get cold. And it's your commitment and your dedication and your passion for fishing or fly fishing that keeps you out there, knowing that you have the abilities to catch some fish in these harsh conditions. Plus, sometimes you can get some really good fish and you can get some really good numbers if you find the right pool of active fish. I would try to steer more towards the rainbow. They seem to be a little more active under 45-degree water temperatures than the brown trout. But a few little degrees here and there makes a big difference in the water. And if you're going to have a nice sunny day, everybody's, oh, these are the days to be out. Yes, they are, because they warm up the water temperature quicker. But you also have to figure in for ice melt. And if ice melt puts cold water back into the stream, it's a very negative thing. It actually turns the fish back off. That was my rod and gear, and I showed you the old hot hands. These save a lot of fishing trips. Oh, and another thing I want to address. If you're going to go out and fish in the wintertime, minimize the alcohol consumption you put in your body because it thins your blood out. And I definitely don't recommend drinking any alcohol when you're out on the streams, period. But if you're going to drink the night before, minimize the amount of alcohol that you put in your system because it thins your blood, and everybody knows thinner blood makes you get colder quicker. Another little trick I came up with is I tie leaders up. This one here has a Y2K on it and a pheasant tail with olive lively legs on. This is my killer about all year round. What I do is I pre-tie them at different lengths, 12, 14, just a few of them, because it minimizes the time that I have to tie a knot. If I break one off, I'll just put it back in. If it's the bottom one. If I break the top off, I already have some pre-tied ones with line-to-line connection. It's easier to tie one knot than to tie on a whole rig when it's really, really cold out. Minimizes the exposure of your hands to the cold temperatures and the cold water. You don't want to be standing there trying to tie knots when it's when you have wind chills below zero and a little above it. It's very cumbersome. You can't wear gloves at that point. So if you do this, and you can see I have quite a variation. I have some Lively Legs products. Have some egg patterns. I also tie up some zebra midges on leaders with an egg pattern. Egg patterns and Y2Ks, like on a bigger tractor pattern, usually do well this time of year. And zebra midges too. And I noticed with the pheasant tails in the wintertime, if I run pheasant tail with yellow or olive legs on, I pick up some fish. And on some days it's when the water temperature spikes up, I think they realize that maybe there's more nymph activity. So this is usually a pretty deadly combination for me no matter where I fish. Now some of my smaller limestone streams, I'll run double nymphs because there's not a whole lot of eggs in those stream systems, and the fish aren't quite used to eating eggs. And they're not saying that they wouldn't, but I seem to pick up more in the smaller spring-fed streams. And also another thing, give yourself adequate time too to maybe take a drive to your destination and check the water conditions out. Check if there's icing around the edges and stuff. And the number one thing is be safe. Try to do your best to minimize your contact with the water with any body parts, and wade very safe this time of year. It's always good practice to fish with somebody this time of year, just in case you have accidents. I hope these wintertime fishing tips give you a little better idea on how to combat these cold weathers. The two prior videos of this have some picture collages of me fishing and the pictures that I took and some of the bug life that's still going on at this time of the year at the end of December and the very cold temperatures. Like I always say, thank you for watching and God bless.